Hey guys, Ty and Sky here from Ty and Sky's Health Pub, and we are looking for the health topics that matter to you. Follow the link to submit your ideas and we'll get them covered as soon as possible.
Have a good one. Hello everybody, Ty from Ty and Sky's Health Pub here. Have you ever found yourself wondering, what are the areas of my life that I draw strength from? Well, we recently had a chance to sit down with Allison, who is a suicide prevention coordinator for the North Dakota Department of Health, to discuss a program called Sources of Strength, and it seeks to do just this in an effort to lower teen suicide risk. Check out our discussion with Allison. And could we get you to just kind of explain for us what is Sources of Strength? What kind of makes up Sources of Strength?
So I'm thinking it was over 20 years ago now, actually here in North Dakota in Bismarck, Mandan, a man named Mark Lomurray was the school resource officer, and he worked with young people, and he had been to like 20 funerals in just a few years of young people. And so he worked with folks in the region to start a program that later became Sources of Strength. He did interviews with folks that survived a suicide attempt and did not go on to die by suicide and actually got better. And he asked them through focus groups and through interviews, many people of different ethnicities and ages, how did you get better? What did you do? And he built a program basically around the information that they got from this, as well as other research and studies. So what they found was that the adult peer relationship, and especially since implementing the program, they've found this again and again, that the adult peer relationship, a mentoring kind of relationship, is protective, and not just for that one student, but that student's friends. And you can see this mapped out on like a geo mapping device, and it's something you can probably find online if you look at Sources of Strength.
Yeah.
And then some of the other things that were pointed out and sort of put into clusters in a pie, and I don't know.
For sure. Thanks. Yeah.
Is the qualities that young people said were most helped them get better and feel stronger. And so it was called Sources of Strength. It is designed after a medicine wheel, as the American Indian community in North Dakota, Standing Rock, Métis Nation, and other communities within North Dakota were active in the development in years earlier. But the components that were brought out were mental health, family support, positive friends, mentors, healthy activities, generosity, spirituality, and did I say medical access? So those things are kind of how they were grouped. And what he found is that any one of those things isn't, being really strong in one of those areas is maybe not the most important thing, but clusters. If folks have a few of those, or clusters, 3 or 4 strengths that they're really strong in, that they tend to do better. So the program has a couple of different things that it does. It encourages ongoing meetings between youth and adults. It fosters adult and young people relationships. They have a lot of positive activities. It keeps young people moving. But it also gets the trains peers to be connectors. They're not little like PhD therapists or anything for the other students, but they're an assortment of young people that are selected for having influence over different social networks, not just the one group of the kids that are all on honor roll, but the kids in every social group, including some kids that are more isolated. What we find through Sources of Strength and other research is that about 1 in 8 of young people are isolated. That means that they don't have, they're not claiming anyone as a friend, and nobody else is claiming them as a friend. And so those folks are at much higher risk of suicide. We also find that young people, when they have a friend that attempts or completes suicide, that whole social network of friends and that cluster is at increased risk, and so you might see a cluster. And so after an attempt or a completion, that's when we really need to make sure that we're really taking action. But this is an upstream primary prevention program, so it really also just supports all students to be healthy and to emotionally and physically, and to really try to prevent them from getting to that point where they are thinking about suicide. So, and there's a lot more to it than I just covered, but it's a real comprehensive program, and there's a lot of information that goes with it. But if anyone, especially in North Dakota, is interested, they can go to the website and the Sources of Strength website and contact them.
And we'll provide a link for that down in the description below for you guys too, if any of you are interested in pursuing more knowledge about this. For sure.
So the ideal would be to get all of these, preferably, and then and in that case, that would be probably the best chance of probably having a better outcome then.
Right, and I guess more is more, but at the same time, some. What we encourage folks to do is to maintain the supports they have in their life and the things that make them feel strong, but then to really look at how they can, what they could do to strengthen those other areas that they maybe aren't as strong in. So you might have folks that have really, really strong friendships and some positive friends, and they might have a real strong family support, and be really involved in their church group, and their sense of spirituality is really solid. But maybe they don't. Maybe they're having trouble accessing healthcare, especially in some rural communities, and things like that. So that's something that maybe they could talk to somebody about and see how they can increase those other areas.
This is very useful, because never thinking of it in terms of all the supports that someone might have. In terms and seeing it like this, I think this is a very good representation of all the things that can help a person through something. And then I especially really like the point about if you have a particular strength, to not focus on being happy, be proud of that being a strong sport, and just keep it as something to foster, keep it growing.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
One of the things that we see through the program, and there's lots of pieces like this, but we have young people. There's one of the activities that we do is we look at who's been real strong for you, and some families come from rough families, and you'll ask them what. Anyone here come from, sort of have some rough stuff going on at home, and usually you have some kids that are like, yeah, that's me, and and maybe they don't have someone at home that's really strong for them, but they might have an auntie, or they may have a neighbor, somebody who is really strong for them, or their friend's family might serve more as that support, and so we can really foster and encourage that. And at the same time, we might encourage them to give that person a thank you for being a strength in my life, and or maybe it's a teacher. And so that's something that we've done in some of the Sources of Strength schools, is they'll fill out a form a little card that they make that says, thank you for being a support in my life, or thank you for being strong for me, and they'll put it on the school wall. And they might say also who is strong for them, and who's been a support in their life. And other young people will actually see that, and even though they themselves may not have a strong relationship with an adult or that particular person, they might think, hey, if they've been strong for them, maybe they'll help me with my situation. And so they'll go and talk to that same adult, because of just the power of peer-to-peer modeling.
If you would like to learn more about Sources of Strength, we've posted some information in the link for this podcast. Please check that out. And if you'd like to get involved, please do that. This seems to be a very worthy cause, and it can help you make a difference in somebody's life and potentially save their life. So thank you for tuning in. As always, please take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you on the flip side.